I call this meeting of the Finance and Budget Committee to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Nusma.
Here.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Here.
Committee Member Chow.
Here.
Councilmember Rogers.
Here.
Committee Member McGuire.
Here.
All right, we have 5 and we have a quorum. We also have Councilmember Davis online. If we can have someone move for her virtual participation.
I move that Councilmember Davis be allowed to participate remotely.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rogers, seconded by Councilmember Nusma. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Committee Member Chow.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Committee Member McGuire.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis can attend and participate remotely. Thank you.
All right. Is Claire's note taker Claire?
That's just Councilmember. I think that's her like AI to take notes off of
Okay.
the audio. We are expecting her at some point, I thought, but she's not here yet.
Okay,
So.
great. All right, so we're good on remote participation. That brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. Do we have anybody signed up to give public comment?
Anyone in the room? Nope.
All right.
Online, Martha, were you looking to give public comment, or Tricia Connolly? All right, Tricia, can you go for it?
You're recognized for 3 minutes, Tricia.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I don't know why I'm, it's echoing on my end. Are you guys getting an echo?
Sorry, that's on our end. I'll mute us and you should be good.
Okay, thank you. So I am calling, I want to plead with this committee on being extra sensitive to the ongoing situation, locally, nationally, the whole bit, that is due to get worse, and how ourselves in this city, those of you elected leaders and committee members, really need to scrutinize about raising taxes and this backdoor to raise fees to get money under the guise that, that will lessen us having to raise taxes. I really have a problem with that when we have a healthy excess fund balance that should be used when we're flush with money. That is the people's money, that is taxpayer money, and that is for you to use to handle some of this. It is obnoxious to me that we're going from a $40 fee in the solid waste to $96. That is criminal, and it needs to be looked at, and it needs to be called out. And I think the management in Public Works, as well as the other managers, they need to be sat down and really reminded who they work for and do a better job. I'm not sure who's calling the shots on that. I don't know if that's our city manager, but I find this truly disrespectful, and there's a lack of sensitivity here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tricia. Is there anybody else seeking to give public comment? If not, may I suggest someone make a combined motion on items M1 and M2?
Sorry, 1 second. Can you repeat yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. So public comment, there's no takers. Then if anybody cares to make a combined motion on items,
Martha, did you unmute to give public comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, go for it. 3
Okay,
minutes. Yeah.
thanks so much. And thank you for, continuing to have the transparency in this meeting to have it available for public comment. I wanted to provide input tonight relevant to the District 65 proposal to close schools, and ask the Finance Committee to take a serious look at the financial and economic consequences that will directly relate to the city of Evanston. The Finance Committee for the city of Evanston is a key stakeholder in those outcomes. And while the District 65 is a separate entity, the decisions that are made by District 65 will directly affect property values, tax revenue, small business activity, long-term population trends, and all of those fall squarely within the committee's fiscal responsibility. So when families choose to move to Evanston, they're investing in our schools and in our neighborhoods. If we remove our neighborhood schools, especially in the 6th Ward and surrounding areas, we've reduced the very draw that sustains our housing market and the city's tax base. Those effects ripple into the city revenue forecasts, infrastructure planning. As an example of this, the Envision Evanston 2045, it explicitly calls for collaboration between the city and educational institutions and for policies that increase the number of families who live in Evanston. School closures run counter to that goal and risk eroding the long-term financial stability of the city. I would encourage the Finance Committee to not stay on the sidelines and to be actively involved. You all have the authority and obligation to request a fiscal impact analysis from District 65's facility plan, including property value impacts, tax revenue projections, service demands. And I'd encourage the Finance Committee to create a joint working group with District 65 leadership before any closures move forward so that we can understand the full economic impact of these potential decisions on the city of Evanston. Evanston's financial health and family appeal are inseparable from its schools. So I would encourage the City Council and the Finance Committee in particular to treat these decisions not as an education issue, but a matter of economic stewardship for the city. Thanks so much for all you do.
All right. Thank you, Martha. That's it, right? Is there anybody else seeking to make public comment? All right, fantastic. Then again, I would entertain a combined motion on items M1 and M2, if anybody wanted to make it.
Mr. Chair, I would move item M1, approval of the August 26, 2025 Special Finance and Budget Committee, and M2, approval of the September 9th, 2025 Finance and Budget Committee minutes.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rogers, seconded by Councilmember Nusma. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's roll call this one.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
Committee Member Chow. You can abstain. I think so, yeah, if you weren't there, yes. Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Committee Member McGuire.
I also abstain.
Okay, and Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, could you remind me the dates? You said August 5th and what else?
August 22nd and September 9th.
26.
26, excuse me, yeah.
Okay, I abstained. I think I was either not there for one or both.
Okay.
Okay, so there we go.
That still passes. What,
I think 3-0 and 3.
303 gets it
I
done.
think so, yes. We can confirm, and if not, we'll bring it back, I guess.
All right. All right, excellent. That brings us to items for consideration. Do I have a motion on FB?
I'll move item FB1, which is acceptance and placing on file of the single audit for fiscal year 2024.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Rogers. Mr. Desai?
Thank you, Chair, and the members of the Finance and Budget Committee, and we welcome the new members. It's the clean report, unmodified opinion from the auditors, and obviously you would see on the page 14 of the PDF where they say that financial statements, I think page 14 in the report, PDF page 14. Yeah, the second paragraph, I think in our opinion, the financial statement referred to above presents fairly in all material respects the expenditures of federal awards. And this is required, the single audit, just for the, whenever we have the spending of more than $750,000 in a year of the federal grants, we are subject to the single audit. And obviously for the last many years, which I remember, Evanston has to go through the single audit each and every year. Okay, so that's it, Any questions for me? Yes.
Any questions or discussion? Then I believe our move here is to accept and place on file.
So I think it's technically a referral to council, but same to then accept and place on file there. But
right.
yes.
So let's do that.
Yes. or to recommend a council to accepting and placing on file.
I move that this committee recommends acceptance to city council that we place on file the 2024 single audit report.
I second.
Okay, so taking roll on that motion, Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
Committee Member Chow. Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Committee Member McGuire.
Aye.
And Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Davis, are you still there? Oh,
Sorry, aye.
thank you.
All right, this is on a 6-0 vote. It has been recommended that council accept and place on file. That brings us to item FB2. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I will move item FB2, which is a recommendation on the increases to the yard waste rates in the solid waste fund.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Rogers.
And we have a presentation from staff to discuss this a little bit more and to field questions.
Thank you, Chair Suffredin, and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. I am Brian Zimmerman, Solid Waste Coordinator in the Public Works Department, here to give the presentation this evening. Just to give a very quick recap on the current state of the Solid Waste Fund. It is a fund that is currently in a structural deficit, a fund that has been asked to decrease the contribution from a property tax levy for 2025 and 2026 within this planning process. We have new residential contract rates that are expected to start November 1st of this year with our new residential agreement that was approved back in July. And this is trying to amend for those new rates, as well as projected ASCME labor contracts that are currently set to end in 2026, which members of our staff are currently members of those unions. Staff's goal for this solid waste enterprise fund is to ultimately try to fix our structural deficit. The fund's net operating income has been negative since its inception in 2011. It has received numerous general fund subsidies as well as property tax levies throughout that duration of time to help keep the fund afloat. We look to become a self-sufficient enterprise fund within a set number of time, and right now property tax subsidies that we receive every year accounts for about 18% of our estimated revenue. And we're currently the only enterprise fund in the city that has any such contribution from a general funded property tax. And we would also look to keep our fund balance at the fiscal policy of the city at 16.6% of our expenses, which is approximately 2 months of expense worth. And currently we have noted that we have a high fund balance, but a lot of this is due to unforeseen things around high capital projects from our participation as a member of the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County. We've also had delayed vehicle purchases from supply chain issues. Since COVID, we've been behind on the procurement of 3 trucks that we've had to continue to carry over, as well as about 20% of staff vacancies. Some reminders on why we're making some of these considerations is the city has some robust climate action goals, which waste falls under that purview. Waste, especially food waste, contributes to greenhouse gas emissions that go to landfill, and the city has described goals of trying to reduce that contribution. So trying to find ways from the waste perspective to reduce that is important. And then, as I mentioned, we have new contractual rates that the City Council approved back in July, and those will start going into effect November 1st in some iteration. We're still working out implementation procedures with the hauler, but it's anticipated that those things will start up in next year. Getting to our proposed changes for 2026, one is looking to restructure the food and yard waste services. Part of our new residential agreement is we're looking to move the food and yard waste cart to a year-round collection model to help increase the access and availability of diverting food from the landfill. And this will require us to change from a seasonal one-time expense that we currently have this cart program to be more abundant for a year-round collection model. So our proposal is changing to a $7 a month charge that households would have on their bill monthly. So they'd see it every other month on their water bill. And our current contracted haul rate for this under the new agreement is 11. Yes, our plan is to provide guidance and instruction for people at the announcement of the program to opt out of that service and not have that charge on there. But if they do not, we'll obviously give some grace in that piece. But if they're on that, they will receive that charge in perpetuity as long as they're on that service. And then sticker revenue and fees are looking to increase to $250, which if you were to stack up one bag a week would almost come to the same amount or approximately less of the cart being serviced once a week. And that would be provided by a hauler. So that venue is still available for people to use as they needed.
Brian, the food and yard waste cart, is that a 95-gallon cart?
We plan on offering different options, a 35-gallon and a 95-gallon. For opt-out measures, our plan is to deliver a 35-gallon cart that households who want a more economical size, 95 gallons can be a bit cumbersome if people just plan to dispose of food waste in it instead of yard waste. They still can, but those options will be available to people.
Same price for either one, though.
Right now, we're putting the same price.
Okay.
The other change that we're planning to do is not tied to contractual, but the city does special and bulk services, and due to continued strain on that service as well as lost revenue from special pickup fees, we're looking to change that program to be a flat rate that's applied to residential and condo customers. Our projection is a $1 per unit per month rate, and this would allow households and condo customers to call into the city for a special pickup fee with 3 cubic yard limits as they need, instead of relying on twice a year bulk service, which requires us to change how we normally do our recycling collections. We have to delay those collections usually by a day for other customers to do our Friday collection periods. And this would help streamline and keep our services regular, as well as reducing the burden on the city to provide those services, which are pretty laborious.
Mr. Chair, I have another question, if you may.
That's fine.
Do you want as we go?
Yeah, that's fine.
So back on the food and yard waste.
Oh, sure.
This is one option. There are private companies that offer composting services to community members. At least one of those companies allows you to go fetch some fully baked compost for your own use, at some point in the spring. Do we contemplate something like that under the city program?
We can maybe negotiate that with the contracted hauler. It's not the same kind of program. They have to physically go fetch it from the compost facility, and that's kind of another logistics question kind of coming back out.
So that wasn't baked into the.
No, not currently. Doesn't mean in the future other considerations cannot be made, but right now not. Back to the special pickup and bulk service. But that change would be a 3-yard limit. We would still apply fees to customers that put out more material or don't schedule services, just like we do now. We currently tag for bulk material that we find in alleyways or set out on the street for 48-hour collection. And if nothing is responded or handled within that time, the city comes and collects that and issues a $100 fee. That would still be the same expectation of that. And then this would also hopefully alleviate a lot of the burden on both staff and our residents when it comes to calling in fly dumping. This fee would help cover our costs mutually across the city. And people calling in those services don't have to worry about us, and the city doesn't have to worry about trying to recoup that lost revenue, because we currently don't apply any fees for calls on fly dumping. So this helps us all kind of lift that burden up as a whole. And the picture on the side is some of the efficiency that we think by doing these scheduling periods, we can route these services to be much more efficient. As you can imagine, when we do bulk service days, we have to go through every alley, regardless if there's material in there or not. It takes the entire day. It's a lot of staff time and vehicle time that we have to devote to that. So we think we can be a bit more efficient even by changing this up to be our sole enterprise on this front.
I have a quick question about that.
Mm-hmm.
So the unscheduled pickups go up to 3 yards how does that affect condominiums? Is it for the entire building? Is it per unit?
It would be likely for the entire account, so they'd have to do some coordination on that piece, but because we're not going to set a limit, like there's only 3 pickups that we can do a year. If they need us to come out, we would just have to ask them that they help us schedule. Part of the scheduling allows us to control a little bit of the demand, the schedule as we can allow with staffing and time. We anticipate going out 3 days a week to do these collections as we do now, and it just allows us to augment that service a bit more. So we'll have to make sure we note that correctly to people, that they know that those considerations are in there.
So for example, you're billing my condominium $25 a month, but we get the same as somebody who's paying $1 a month.
The needs might be different. I mean, currently, we have a lot of residential households that hold on to bulk material for twice a year.
We do that too. We get a dumpster twice a year.
Yeah.
Which this is a cheaper mode of doing that, but there is an inherent unfairness to the fact that as a condominium, we are paying 25 times as much to get rid of the same amount of waste.
That can be true, but there might be more frequency from your group than a residential customer group. The same already exists in the bulk service model. You guys are
Yeah.
limited at 6 cubic yards per unit, regardless of location. So we've just been keeping with that standard model. If there's needs to be some other considerations, we can take that feedback in.
Yeah, condominiums kind of get lost in a lot of things around the city of Evanston. We look at homeowners, we look at apartment buildings, and condominiums are kind of in that weird area in between.
Definitely understood, yeah. Other proposed changes is we are looking to introduce a 35-gallon cart option for garbage, as I also mentioned for food and yard waste. With that in kind, we're also looking to increase the 65-gallon cart rate by a few dollars. It's currently $11.93. We'd look to push that up to $14. And the 35-gallon rate would be starting at the existing 65-gallon rate.
Hey, Brian, you're rolling here, but I've got a light on. Councilmember Kelly?
Thank you, and I'm sorry for arriving late. I thought we were starting at 5:30, so my apologies. So I'm sorry if this has already been discussed. So from the charts that you gave us, so it looks like we're talking about an increase in fees from $40.50 to $96. That's an increase of $48 plus the $1 a month for the bulk pickup, right? So we're talking about like almost 140% increase. So I am concerned about that increase because my understanding also is that you said that currently our charge is about $420,000, and we're expecting with the new service, is that with LRS? The new service is with LRS, so that will be anywhere from $300,000 to $450,000, so that we're more than doubling the rates, yet there's no indication that what we're going to be charged is going to be an increase.
The rate innately is higher. It's $11.50 that we will be charged by the vendor, regardless of rate. The difference is what we estimate bringing in versus what the estimated expense is. And a lot of that range is based on who opts out of the program. So the more people that opt out, there is the chance that is a bigger difference, but it's likely no higher.
You said here the net program cost to the city would be $300,000 to $450,000, and now our net cost is $420,000. So I'm not comfortable with more than doubling the rate on our residents, especially when we do have excess reserves that will exceed, $3 million. I think we should lower the taxes in this line item, and I think we shouldn't raise the fees.
All right. I got another light.
Okay.
I've got a question, but kind of along the lines of what we discussed. Purpose of this meeting is to talk about financial aspects. I've got other questions that are appropriate for when this does come to council.
Okay.
But Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify the current rate for regular garbage, landfill garbage disposal. The standard is a 95-gallon bin, right?
Currently, yes.
You can choose, you can opt into a smaller and cheaper 65-gallon bin. But what is the current rate for that default 95-gallon?
Is currently $26.95.
And it will stay $26.95. Okay. But under the new proposal, default will be the 65-gallon bin.
We're still going with the default of 95. We need to escalate to get to a more default service of 65. We need to keep increasing that rate to be more close to the contractual cost. Otherwise, the city is going to potentially lose money.
Right, so that's on the city side, but like one of the fundamental things is we pay the waste haul or whatever the contracted amount is. We charge residents something else, and whatever we is left over, we've been using property tax to pay for essentially.
And even in that, we still have had an operational deficit, so even that's not covered everything. So
Yeah, so there are city costs, and then there are consumer resident costs. One way the resident can save a decent amount of money is to opt into the smaller garbage can,
currently, yes.
95 down to 65, and save $12 a month, compared to what they're currently paying.
They can. We would.
That would, from the city side, that would give us less revenue, and we'd still have to pay the same bill.
Yes, and we would, and staff is looking to slowly change that.
Yeah.
Because it is disincentivizing, right? It's a catch-22 on that front, where we are definitely incentivizing waste reduction, which is a good thing, but it's causing us harder time covering our collection costs, which are contractually binding. So we have to cover that somehow. So we're trying to find different ways to still provide that incentive for waste reduction, doing more recycling, doing more diversionary things like the food and yard waste cart, while still covering our contractual costs. Yes.
Thanks.
Committeemember Chow, then Councilmember Kelly.
You may be going to speak to this because I know we're in the middle of the presentation, but thank you. So I just wanted to ask a couple questions. One was relative, as we're talking about the fund balance, the table 1 at the back of the packet speaks to revenue targets and then the estimated fund balance projections. And does that incorporate the new pricing? It does. So I guess I'd want to point out that, even including the new pricing, right, we would be in 2027 just in terms of above or below the target, we would be above by $500,000, and we would go into deficit mode in 2029, meaning we would have a negative fund balance, which certainly in an enterprise fund isn't fiscally prudent.
Yeah, I'll just clarify. We never project that we will go under, the fund will have no money. We will just be likely
under the target. I'm sorry,
Yes,
I should
under
have
the target,
I
yes.
should have specified that. But if there were no increases, and we're running at roughly $1.5 million loss per year, that fund balance is going to dwindle very quickly, correct? Right? So if there were to be no changes, when would we go down to the projected target, or roughly when? It seems like it would be another year, right? If it's $1.5 million and okay. So that would mean if nothing was done by 2027, we would be at target, and then we would start to fall below fund balance thereafter if nothing were changed.
Yes, and then likely we would be coming back with an even larger increase to cover that gap.
So I too think, we certainly don't want to nickel and dime residents. I did take our comp municipalities and just quickly went and looked out to see what they're charging for sanitation rates. Couldn't find them all, but they ranged from, for the 95, or I guess we would talk about 65, they ranged from $16 a month up to $28 a month for Oak Park. All of this is significantly less than that. And so, I commend you for looking at ways and also giving more control to the user, the resident, introducing the 35, the 35, what is it?
Gallon. Yeah.
Gallon, thank
Yeah.
you. I also read that, that's more relevant for smaller families, right? And we do have an increasingly aging population and smaller households. So for 2 people in the household to be able to, ratchet that cost down, perhaps we could look at, some of the other districts do have senior pricing, a different pricing. So perhaps there's a way to look at, more vulnerable populations that we might have a special rate for. So that's one thought to kind of mitigate the impact. But thank you.
Brian, can you just briefly talk about the effects on the cost for service related to whether or not they are alley pickups or curbside? Because I think when you look at comparable communities, that's one of the things.
So Oak Park's a good example. It's a pretty dense alley-focused collection model. You usually find more preferred pricing related to service on communities that are able to do complete curbside set-out. A lot of that comes from the efficiency of collection. They're able to do automated trucks that have side load containers. I don't know if you ever see them in other communities, but they're able to pick things up way quicker. We're in a rear load alley dominant community. We're at about 80, almost 90% of our collections are all done from the alley, which requires staff to get out, even the contractual staff to get out, move containers to the back of the vehicle to be able to service them. We don't have the ability to do automated collection in this current environment. And so those are more laborious times. We have to run more trucks to get through the day to be able to service our customers in the time frame we need to. And just those factors kind of stack up against us. That's really the difference.
And ultimately, it makes it more expensive to do it the way.
Usually, yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. And I just want to be clear when I was referencing the reserves, that's above and beyond our stated reserves. So when I talk about 3 million, that's excess above and beyond our reserves. So when you speak to, you said in here that the city, this change is expected to generate an additional $124,000 in revenue. What is that based on? Like, how do you get that number? Because I figure it's $56 more per household, roughly.
Which, can you specify which change you're speaking to?
It's what you have in our memo here. It says this change, this planned increase would generate.
Are you talking in totality?
In totality. That's my understanding. Well, maybe you can explain it. It says this after explaining the different fee increases. It says that the city would look to issue the new fee and service starting April 1st of 26, and the change was expected to generate $124,000 in revenue.
Oh, I got you. That's for the special pickup fee, yes.
Okay, so, but I mean, all told, if we're talking about $56 additional per household, that should generate, what are we expecting to generate? Because this is a lot more, and what I'm seeing is what you've stated, the $420,000 that we're now being charged versus anywhere on the low end from $300 to $450.
Well, for the stated thing for special pickup rate, it's just an increase over what we currently bring in from just the $100 fee, which is about, we've been losing money in that space. We've been pulling in about 70 to 80,000 per year.
How do we generate, I mean, how is that we end up with this excess millions in excess reserves? And it increased, I'm looking at, fund balances from 6/30/24 last year, our mid-year report, we had over 2 million in excess reserves. A year later, we have about over 3 million. So we've been increasing our excess reserves on top of our stated reserves, which are 1.1 million. So I don't understand what you mean by that.
Oh, well, as noted earlier in the presentation, we had some one-time expenses, swank contractual costs that we were budgeting for that came in under estimation. We had to put dollars towards that from a spend standpoint to help supplement them getting their new roof at the transfer station. That we're a member of that community. We help cover that operational maintenance costs with the fees that we spend to swank. We also have vehicle purchases that have not been able to be completed over the last 3 years, and we have to keep sharing that cost over year, as well as numerous staff vacancies that we plan.
In other
for
words,
from
we
a budget.
budgeted more to cover costs that we weren't being transparent about. I mean, because what you're saying then is that we're generating a lot of excess reserves here on top of our reserves. And by the way, we can spend reserves too. I don't know. So I guess my concern is we should be budgeting, and it's good to be conservative. I have absolutely no problem with that but when we're running every year, the excess reserves have been increasing. We keep our reserve balance at about 1.1 million. I see this only inflating even more with this new collecting this over doubling our fees. I see we're just going to be basically, I'm concerned they're going to be stockpiling more, unnecessarily stockpiling more tax dollars.
So,
in excess reserves.
I'm sorry, is that all? I think so. Okay. How many more slides do you have?
Hopefully just a few more.
Okay, maybe we'll let Brian do his slideshow and then we can do that. I think maybe the ask as you go
Sure.
thing
We'll
may not have
hold.
been the best way to
That's
do
okay.
this. So it's your show, buddy.
Live and learn. The last thing is very small. It's we currently charge additional fees to residents to purchase and even start some of our programming. We're looking to erase that component to make it easier to participate. Specifically, food and yard waste, we charge $95 to just start the program on top of the $40 fee. We have heard from residents that sometimes is a burden just to start the program. So by changing that model, we make it a little easier for people to participate if they feel that service is valuable to them, as well as some additional refuse things. We also sometimes as staff have to battle questions on warranty. We have things with the food and yard waste that if it's gone 5 years or longer, the resident has to buy the cart again, and that sometimes is a point of contention with staff. So we think from an ease and programmatic standpoint, this cleans up a lot of that just undue burden. It's a very small thing from a financial perspective, though. Just quickly, some future considerations. We do have some contractual things around condos and apartments that we are looking to change how we might do that service. Those things might be something to consider on changing in structure in 2027 timeframe. We also, as Councilmember Nusma's inquiry, we do want to eventually make the 65-gallon our default trash model in the future, but we have to work our way to that point. We do look to have an all-in food and yard waste service eventually. We think the state or the county is constantly looking at food waste as a requirement, and there could be some mandatory function of a community providing that service to everyone. Making our way towards that preemptively will do a lot of benefit for things. And I mentioned state legislation. Other things that the state is discussing is extended producer responsibility, which might change our recycling costs in the future. So those are just some considerations in the future. I won't belabor this because Committee Member Chow had mentioned this a little bit, but this is just kind of our estimated based on these proposed expense changes as well as some increases into the future. Most notably, we bring down our contribution of property tax levy from 1.3 million from 2020 to 2024 and 950,000 over the last year, and look to bring that down to 450,000. We would keep that contribution on the fund until 2032, and then we would stop receiving that levy contribution. As Committee Member Chow mentioned, there is a dip in the fund balance going below our targeted 16.6 minimum reserve, and that would carry from 2028 through 2030. And then we finally reach an anticipated positive net income operating income by 2032, which would be the first time in the fund balance's history. And then this is just kind of some of the reorganization on it relates to different services and those forecasts. This is all detailed in the packet, so I'll be very brief on them. It just kind of notes what the aggregated things are. They don't break out as line items directly when it comes to estimated revenues and expenses in the fund itself, but we reorganize some of those things as well. And then just trying to organize it as the actual expense with future considerations. The highlighted yellow cells are just future contractual windows that could change those things. And so really our ultimate questions to the Budget and Finance Committee when it comes to this is we were looking to see if you guys were in agreement with our projection of trying to shoot for 2032 to eventually get off the property tax levy, as well as our recommended changes in 2026. And those are just summary bullet points of what those were.
Councilmember McGuire.
Thanks. I'm obviously new to this, and I'm just going to ask some fairly basic, probably stupid questions. So the goal here is, what are the primary goals of this proposed change are, one, to help us achieve our sustainability goals for the city of Evanston. Two is to make this fund funding, so that we're no longer drawing from the general fund or the property tax revenues. And I don't know, maybe those are the two main goals. I don't know. How did the proposed changes to the fees help us achieve those two goals?
Well, for next year, they're just a stepping stone. This is going to be a path to getting to that point. Long term, we'll likely be coming back to this committee in future years with augmented proposals as we understand opt-out numbers and participation and how these services are operating. But we have some anticipated goals for each service. Like we want to see upwards of 70-80% of our residents using the food and yard waste cart to help divert food waste from landfill. We're currently at 50%. So we're trying to move those needles in those directions while maintaining our current service suite of services with just trash and regular recycling that we provide. But it's going to be an incremental step to get there. We're not jumping, as Committee Member Chow had outlined earlier, we're still not even going to be there even next year with these changes.
Do you see a need for more city staff to implement what you're trying to do here over the next several years?
Not necessarily. A lot of our services related to staffing and personnel costs is tied to our recycling services. We have been providing that service for numerous years, and we don't foresee changing that up. There might be some programmatic changes, as I mentioned, from the multifamily portion. We definitely see that as an opportunity to provide a better service, especially for our apartment complexes. But those are things that we're still trying to figure out what those needs are. So does that answer?
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, I can't raise my hand.
Oh, yeah, you're not on the screen, so
I'm a little
welcome.
curious as to how detailed or how much of a plan we have thought out with regards to resident education. I guess I'm just worried about incentivizing adoption and making sure that people know how the process goes, what they need to do. I know we do target, what do you call it? We do tagging of the cans to tell people, but it seems to me, especially with, basically just kind of our trash system becoming a little bit more complicated, that we should be providing educational materials and also advice to people on how to do kind of simple things. One of the things that comes off the top of my head is that, okay, it's nice to have a separate trash can for recyclables and also for food and waste, but when do you separate that trash out if you're used to having one trash can in your kitchen, right? And so I just hope that we are also pairing this, I do think that part of our job as government, when we're trying to push more innovative ideas or more progressive ideas, is to educate residents along the way about how this doesn't have to be hard or how this can be worth it. And so that's it. And I will reemphasize again, I'm standing in my kitchen right now. I have one trash can. I'm used to the food waste and, well, I'm not actually, but I did used to have it's a whole different thing. But if I am standing in my trash in my kitchen and I have one trash can, I'm used to the food waste and the recycling and everything going into one trash can. And maybe I pull out a couple of cardboard boxes or I don't know, bottles in a corner, but adding on a third thing seems like a lot. So what do you tell people what they should do in that situation? Kind of. That's it.
I'll be brief because I could spend a lot of time on that, but we do plan on accompanying this entire process with education. We want to see diversion be successful. We do cart tagging as Councilmember Davis recommended, and we'll continue to do that for food and yard waste cart service moving forward. But we definitely value tools, helping people support this. We instituted Recycle Coach this year, and those are avenues that can help people understand what those is. Some of the considerations Councilmember Davis mentioned are things that we consider too.
Okay, and Brian, the education and outreach part of this, that comes out of the solid waste fund, or does that come out of?
Currently does. We write some contractual things regarding when we do this announcement, some of the just distribution of education materials will come from our vendor, but those are contractually outlined what they will provide. Anything additional comes from the solid waste fund, which is a line item.
Great. Councilmember Newsma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So let me frame this. It's costing us more and more to collect garbage and refuse. We pay for that through a combination of ratepayer dollars. We charge customers a certain amount. That doesn't cover our costs, so we supplement that with general fund, which is tax revenue. Now, we happen to be sitting on more of a fund balance than we need, which is great. But at some point, we need to bring in more money to pay for the increasing expense. So fortunately, we've got a fund balance to draw down on, which will make it a little bit less painful. And what you're proposing is, gradually drawing down on that fund balance till it reaches the appropriate level, while ramping up the cost to ratepayers.
I'll be cautious on how we frame the words gradual and on-ramp up, because it's all relative.
Yeah.
10% for someone is too great, 10% for another maybe doesn't feel
But
like
if we're
much.
talking about, if we're contemplating an increase to the cost per garbage can, if we don't approve that, then we got to make up the revenue somewhere, and that's property tax.
Or we're back next year with an even greater ask, or an ask for another transfusion from the fund like we received in 2023 or something like that.
Or we could hold off on an increase while we draw down on the reserves till they get to the target level. But at that point, then it's going to be a pretty significant increase. And, I have had a lot of feedback from Fourth Ward residents regarding property taxes, but it's, very relevant conversation. I'm getting some feedback that Fourth Ward residents would prefer smaller incremental increases year over year rather than every once in a while be hit kapow with a really big increase. So I think we're following the same, that kind of approach here, incremental, rather than holding off till the very last minute and then having to struggle to pay catch up, and that's going to be, a much more painful thing to take one big jump rather than a series of small steps. So I guess what I'm getting at is what you're proposing makes sense to me.
And the other consideration I didn't outline, but it is important, staff has also reorientated how it asks for increases to which services. Historically, we've provided blanket 10% across the board to our rates. We find that does some injustice in certain things, like this 95-gallon cart increases at an expense higher than the 65-gallon just from pure percentage points. So we're trying to orientate ourselves to how we should be budgeting related to the service.
And then I do think moving forward with more education, with more outreach, we get more people recycling, more people composting. They don't need the 95-gallon. They can get by with the 65-gallon. You've heard me say this for the last 4.5 years. Our family made that change, our family of 4, and we barely ever fill up our 65-gallon. We save a lot of money that way. So I would look forward in future years to restructuring a contract, or the next time they're up, make the 65-gallon the default, and we'll actually end up saving money to the community and to the residents.
Point of clarity for it, contractually, we get charged the same. There's no difference in cart costs.
Right. So
we
when-
make
when
that
the next-
decision.
yeah.
Yep.
Eventually, let's
Yep.
move in that direction. Let's
Great.
throw
Rogers?
away less.
And then Kelly.
Yeah, just a quick question. So we're shifting 1.3 million out of, that we've taken from property taxes, that's now going to be made up through this increase in cost. Is that correct?
Sort of. It's going to go down to 450,000
But in this year?
This year, in 2025, it was 950,000. It had been previously 1.3 million.
Okay.
We are looking to make that 450,000 until 2032 was the anticipated goal. Is that what you're looking
Yes.
for? Okay.
So we've taken 950,000 that we now are not charging a property tax, but putting increases in fees in. Is that what we're doing?
It'll be a decrease of about 500,000 from property taxes, and we're trying to reach that amount from the revenue rate increases amount, which was the goal we were shooting for these changes.
Okay.
To meet additional 500,000 to at least cover that loss in revenue from the property tax. I believe I'm stating that right, Clayton, yes.
All right.
Councilmember Kelly.
It seems like it should go well exceed that at, on average, $56 a household increase that will way surpass 500,000. I'm guessing at that increase in terms of, to your point that we're decreasing 500,000 in the levy, but we're increasing the fees a lot. I had a question regarding because I had asked about the excess reserves, and you said it's being spent on, one, you mentioned the reserve balance of 1.26, not counting that. It looks like we're spending down on that excess from this year. Do we have an estimate where we think it'll be by the end of the year? I know it was at about 3 million at mid-year, the excess. What do we expect? Usually it's been increasing on average by about, I don't know, between mid-year and the end of the year by another 500,000.
Slide, Ryan.
Does that say 2025? That says 2026.
It says 26 on that one.
So I have
I think it
your,
was in that one.
yeah, so I'm looking at the mid-year report that we got at the last finance and budget at 2.9 million in excess reserves. And so what is it estimated to be at by the end of the year? What is it?
So this is, they're two different tables, two different sources, I think.
In the solid waste fund?
Yeah, but those are year 2026. So this year's is not in the presentation. I don't even know if I reference it in the memo either. We
Okay,
can look
we
at
have it in the, what was given to us at the, on 32? Right, but I'm talking about the end of 25. This year, I just want to know what we predict, where we're going to be at in terms of excess reserves by the end of this year. We are at 3 million at mid-year. The trend is that generally that
I see.
increases.
So at the top, it's the beginning balance is noted from what's the projection at the end of the year. So it says 3 million.
3.7?
Yeah, 3.7.
About 3.7.
Yes.
Okay, so
That's just
that
the
would be
balance.
excess.
No, that's just the
excess.
balance amount.
Well,
Not
excess, no, that should be, excess was 3 million at the end of June. And the trend every year is that's increased by the end of the year. So I would,
Be going down because you're cutting into it by $1.5 million every year. It's going.
no, this is by the end of this is where we're at as of, and it has what's, the fund balance, which is 1.7, and then the excess is 3. So when I asked for a breakdown on how that was going to be spent, and I just had a few questions about that because that totals 1.9 million for this year.
Just to clarify, you're saying excess
Reserves above and beyond about the 16.6%. Yeah. So of that, you said 731,000 was for 2 trucks, right? That you're going to take out of that excess for 2 trucks, correct?
That they will be purchased, sometime this year.
From that excess. And, okay, and then when does fleet, just so I understand, when does like fleet service fund or equipment replacement fund, that doesn't cover these?
No, we that's a different fund from the maintenance part of it.
Okay, but
I
that.
want to make sure
okay.
I'm stating that right, Kevin.
Okay, and then there's another 335,000 for another truck. So there's 2 trucks for that out of that excess reserve, right? So 3 trucks total?
3 trucks total.
Okay, and then.
Do you have a current number for the fund balance that would help, so we don't have to subtract from June?
As I was stating, Clayton pointed it to at the top
As
of
of
this one is
26, it'll be
3.7 is the total fund balance.
Correct. So
That's
excess in that is anything over 16.6%, correct?
Yes.
So I don't know why that would have gone down, though.
Because
Well,
this
that's
is a
what I-
losing fund. It's, you may
Yeah,
have had.
It's not a losing fund.
It's losing money every year.
No,
That's,
it hasn't been losing money every year.
you've had infusions of of money into it to pay for capital and other expenditures, but on an operating basis, it's
What we've
losing.
budgeted, we've been able to maintain the reserve at 16.6, and we've been increasing our excess reserve on top of that every year. So I understand, is that amount after we've paid for the trucks? So we're paying for things out of this, just so you understand, that isn't part of the solid waste. We're paying for trucks that weren't budgeted. So that means we have extra money. So
Well, the
is
trucks have been budgeted. It's just we haven't been able to purchase them because
No,
they
if
haven't
they're
come
coming out of
through.
unassigned funds, unrestricted, excess reserves, these are not budgeted. It's very clear on the charts. We have non-spendable, restricted, assigned, unassigned, required fund balance, and excess. And what I'm understanding is that when I asked for an accounting of the excess, it was in the memo today, it says that that excess is being used. And in the memo given to staff, from staff in our budget page, it says that it's used to pay for basically three trucks and to cover the increase in wages. Correct? Because I asked for an accounting of that, how that was going to be used. And let's be clear, I mean, it really is. We have non-spendable, restricted, assigned, unassigned, required fund balance, and then excess. Excess is not assigned funds. This is money that we've either over budgeted in terms of expenses or under budgeted in terms of revenue.
These garbage trucks were ordered over the past 3 years, and they were budgeted in those years where the order was made for those trucks. They're taking 2 years on average to get delivered, so they were budgeted in the year that they were ordered. They don't get recognized as an expense in our accounting until they are delivered to the city, at which point they're recognized as an expense, and they come out of that unrestricted fund balance. So we have a fund balance of $3.8 million right now. $1.2 million of that is the reserve. We have another $1 million worth of garbage trucks that are sitting out, ordered, but not yet delivered. And so that's what is being broken down in that memo.
Right, so there is a column called assigned. So if these trucks were meant to be covered by that fund, then that money should be listed in the assigned column.
That is using accounting terminology within that chart too. And Hitesh can speak to that if you want to. That the accounting terminology carries a different meaning than how it's being interpreted and used in this context.
And that's right, yeah, Clayton is right. I mean, every fund, depending on the type of fund, enterprise fund, governmental fund, the different terms are used. Assigned fund balance is used for the governmental, not for the enterprise funds. So that's the first thing. And again, those $1 million trucks, we had to spend that money. So out of 3.7 million, if we take around 1.2 million as a reserve, so we are left with $2.5 million. Out of that, we have to spend $1 million. At the same time, this already fund balance includes the past infusion from the general fund or the property tax levy. And that's what we are trying to cut down, which he explained that yes. Even this year, it is $950,000. We are proposing to cut it down by $500,000 next year in the solid waste fund. So the revenues would go down. So what they have been talking about is the structural deficit. You see the fund balance, but if we don't take any action, most likely in 2 or 3 years, either we continue to, or maybe increase the property tax infuse, or certainly come out with a steep increase in the solid waste fund.
Okay, so I'll write to you, but I want some clarity then on what is our excess reserves, what that has gone to, and why these were not listed in either the assigned or restricted, because the excess reserves are above and beyond our reserves. And if we had we have budgeted for this money, if we charge whatever we charge because we intended to pay for trucks, those should not be listed, that funding should not be listed as excess reserves. So that's very misleading, I think, for the public, and I think we need clarity. That's why we've made a referral for an excess reserve policy. I think we desperately need that in this city. Thank you.
All right, and
We'll do a budget memo.
yeah, it sounded like a gestating budget memo request that could be formalized. And then this will come to council pending, we're going to take a vote in a second, but do you have a date in mind? There will be an opportunity for council members to discuss this. I think there's a lot of aspects outside of the financial aspects that Brian, you and I have talked about. that are appropriate for a council discussion. But am I correct in saying we've had a robust and complete discussion for purposes of today? That's just your microphone light? You're not,
Oh,
are you getting ready to, do you want your real guy light? Oh, okay, I just wasn't sure if you were trying to talk. Okay, so I thank you, Hitesh, I thank you, Brian, I thank you, Clayton, I thank everybody for being here. Councilmember Kelly, you will submit a budget memo request on those things. I've got some emails I've sent you while we were sitting here that things that have come in mind. Does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up? Otherwise, I think we're ready to vote on a recommendation. Councilmember Davis, are you unmutable and ready to vote?
I am unmutable, but I don't think I'm ready to vote. What would be the vote for? The vote would be to recommend this to City Council?
So we are going to make a recommendation, yes or no, as a Finance and Budget Committee on the increase. Council members will have the opportunity to further
Again,
discuss
one
it.
clarification, this is not going to the council in the next, we have a budget hearing, but this would be introduced along with the tax levies and others on November 10th or 11th, I think, one of those, yeah.
Okay.
10th, yeah, November 10th.
So this will be part of the Truth and Taxation.
No,
This is a week, that's the third.
Yeah,
And
and
then-
then all the ordinances and resolutions for debt abatement, along with this one, will be introduced on November 10th, and then it will be adopted if
Okay.
it goes through
And I think
November.
by the 10th, all of the joint board meetings will have happened. There'll be opportunity for resident input.
Right.
So on the matter before us, it is a vote of the Finance and Budget Committee to make a recommendation. Council members have the choice to change their minds on whatever they vote tonight. But I think, unless you have anything else, Councilmember Davis, I think we're ready to vote.
Remind me, what are we voting on again? Are we somebody going to remove it?
Okay, I don't have anything else.
Oh, okay. And I don't want to rush you. If you do, we're here till, the room's open till 7.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, and a recommendation to City Council.
So yeah, so what this is a recommendation, this would be a recommendation to City Council to accept the increase or not. It's a non-binding recommendation. And right, like all the information that's been shared. So it is, this committee's non-binding recommendation to the City Council.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ready for roll call? Okay, taking roll call on the motion. Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
Committeemember Chow. Aye. Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Committeemember McGuire.
Aye.
And Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's, what is that, 4-2? 5-1. All right, rack and roll. All right, cool. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, this meeting is done.
Thank you all.
Wait, I thought we were supposed to give a recommendation for who's going to be chair.
I think that's going to a Rules Committee convening next Monday, a very short Rules Committee meeting between A&PW and Council.
Yeah, but at council, we said we were tabling the discussion and we would have Tom do the meeting and we would get a recommendation from Finance and Budget as to who they wanted to be chair.
I think we're outside of the meeting right now. So this is just people talking.
Straw vote?
Is there, yeah, this is chit-chatting that's happening remotely in a microphone. Is there anybody here who absolutely would never want to be chair? And I'm raising my hand on that. Is there anybody else?
I'm also not interested in being chair.
Okay, so
Can I
I
nominate?
believe among the rest of you and the absent member Livingston, you all can talk about who would like to be the next chair of this committee.
I think Councilmember Rogers has been volunteered for the role.
And I would second that.
for 1 year.
Just as a straw.
For 1 year. I just want to
being
make it clear, this is
informal,
1
unofficial
year
conversation.
to get us through next year's budget. But after that, it is up for grabs, so
Did this body discuss already sorry, we're done. Okay.
Gary, I think we're good. Thank you.